Hey guys, for Bazille this week I just want to show you a few quick ways to make sounds a little bit fatter and thicker and stuff like that. Although in Bazille pretty much everything sounds already very big and analog and warm. First, of course, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out ADSRsounds.com, all the good stuff. And then for this sound, what I did is I used two oscillators. I'll play the sound first maybe. That's the sound, not that exciting yet, but we're gonna work on that. I've used oscillator 1 and it's going out through this filter, and it's going out with the normal output here after the volume stage, which is going to the input of the filter, and then it's also going out with the other normal output, but this one is not controlled with the volume, so this has a maximum output. But I don't use this as a sound signal, I use it as a modulation signal, and I modulate a little bit of the cutoff frequency. So this one goes to this modulation knob, and if I disable that, it sounds like this. And then when I start to modulate it a little bit, so that's already one way to get things a little bit thicker, to modulate the cutoff of the filter that the oscillator is going through by that same oscillator. So that one is going out with a low pass 12 dB, and it's going to the multiplex, and then that multiplex is going out to the volume stage again. So that's the whole first oscillator. Then for the second oscillator I go out here and I go to filter 2, and filter 2 the cutoff is set to 72, and I go out here with the low pass 12 and the low pass 6 dB, and they're both going to the multiplex. So now we have 3 cables going into the multiplex, 2 for oscillator 2 and 1 for oscillator 1, and also 2 for filter 2 and 1 for filter 1. So now we're keeping it pretty logical by using filter 1 for oscillator 1, filter 2 for oscillator 2. That way you don't get confused, because it's easy to get a little bit confused with all these cables going on. And those both go out to my normal volume envelope output stage. And then for the oscillator settings, I use the phase distortion here. I set it to 2 pulse. I can change that here by clicking on it, and I give the maximum amount. And the Fractalize I set to saw, and I give it an amount of almost 1. But this one makes quite a difference. It's now at 0.98, and it sounds like that. If I change it to 1, you can hear the difference there with little small values. And for oscillator 2 I pretty much did the same. I think I used the phase distortion on saw, set it to 52, and the Fractalize I used the triangle wave, I think that is, and I set it to almost 1. It's at 0.84, and when you set these at 1, they sound very harmonic, and when you set them somewhere in between, they can sound a little bit, you hear that it's a little bit detuned. It has some extra harmonics that are not in the root note, I think. This sort of has a vocal formant sound to it as well, so we can try to send an LFO to that. Which one was it here? And then give it a small amount, maybe 2, and disable the mod wheel assignment. Has sort of the talking sound to it. Pretty cool. I don't want to use that for now though. What I wanted to show you was this little button thing right here where it says stack, and now it's set to 1. and if I set it to 4 and I need to drag my output down because it's gonna get loud, it places four copies basically of that same sound on each other. It's a lot fatter. This is 1, this is 4. So that's pretty cool. And another way to get things a little bit thicker is by using the distortion unit, which you can find here in the effects page. And to access that, you just right click here and you choose distortion, and then you double click to activate it. And here we have a few different amp types and a few different distortion algorithms, and we can mess with these settings a little bit. We have the center frequency, which is the frequency that's gonna be I think that is gonna be the focus of the distortion, at least that's what it sounds like. And we have some cool types, like the rectifier is pretty aggressive. But I like these tube amps the most. And when I set the drift to off, you get rid of that detuning sound. Now it's more static, and with drift on, you hear it really drift. I think I like that though. And then one last thing we can do is mess a little bit with the filters. And we can try some envelopes on the filter. So we haven't used envelope 2 yet, because we only use envelope 1 here. So let's set the output of envelope 2 to the cutoff here, and set the sustain down, so that we get sort of a pluck at the beginning of the sound. And let's do the same for the second filter, like that, and maybe invert the modulation there. Or maybe not. And then maybe a tiny bit of LFO on there as well. Let's see this one for example, to give it a little bit more movement. I don't want it to be too dubstepy, of course. And maybe try the band pass from this one as well. Send it to the last input of the multiplex. Maybe without the drift after all. And then a little bit of reverb. And make it a little bit less detuned with the fractalize knobs. To disable our vibrato here. That's where the detuning is coming from, because this is hardwired to LFO1, so that's just doing pitch modulation. So I disabled it here, but you have to disable it here also. then we can use that for the cutoff again. So that's how you can get pretty aggressive sounds in Bazille, and you can make it more aggressive by using the feedback functions like we talked about last week, feeding back a filter into itself. But this should get you started. See you next week.